Take 2 and 2, 1. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the 2 towers. A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
I hope I live. I hope I live. It's coming down on me. Here it comes. I'm getting behind a car. It's incredible. Okay, I'm gonna have to go find people who need help, because I don't think I'm one of them. You okay, sir? Okay.
Take it easy, breathe slow.
You guys going in?
Yeah.
Come with you.
You know, there are 3 places in my life that I remember distinctly where I was. One was the assassination of President Kennedy, and I was in 6th grade. The next one was the first step we took on the moon. And the next one was September 11th. Those 3 things you'll never forget, where you were and the impact not only did it have on you, but on those around us. Our nation will never be the same, the world will never be the same after September 11th. And if you look back over the last 20 years, it has pretty much dictated our foreign policy, our Department of Defense, our acquisition strategy, all kinds of things, our foreign relations policies, et cetera, et cetera. So what was a typical Tuesday like in the wing? Well, that was our staff meeting day. So that was kind of a typical day for Tuesdays. And I remember very distinctly that we were in a staff meeting, and in the middle of the staff meeting, the door opens and my executive officer, Dan Sheasley, comes in and slides me a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, it said that an aircraft just had flown into one of the World Trade Center towers. And I kind of went, I didn't share that with the group yet because we were still going around looking at some slides for the air staff, or for the staff meeting. People were talking, and I can't remember who was speaking, but at their conclusion, I said, I just got handed this note, and I said, can we get CNN and throw it up on the screen here so that we can look and see what's happening?
So I was at 19th Air Force for a 19th Air Force Commanders Conference. The 19th Air Force commander at the time was Major General Polk. And so this was my first opportunity, because I was been in command for about 2 months. We had to change the command in July of that year. We're in his main briefing room with the other commanders out of 19th Air Force from the different pilot training bases and also places like Luke Air Force Base and such. And he gets his exec comes in, you know, first whispers in his ear and then comes back in, hands him a piece of paper, and then he finally says, okay guys, we're going to stop the whatever briefing presentation we were getting about 19th Air Force things, and he says, we got to show you something. An airplane has flown into one of the towers in Washington, in New York City.
This just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. The CNN Center right now is just beginning to work on this story.
So we were watching the first tower burn live, etc. And people were just fascinated with what was going on. We didn't really understand yet what had happened. And so instead of just sitting there, okay, staring at this, I said, okay, let's conclude the staff meeting. Let's all go back to our offices because we don't know where this is going yet. And I went into my office and turned on the television, and then it was shortly thereafter that I was watching live as the second airplane flew into the second tower.
Of course, CNN comes up. That might have been the only cable news network at the time, I don't remember. And the next thing you know, we're watching that and the smoke and everything else. And obviously we're just in awe and disbelief. And he goes, okay, guys, let's take a break, get on the phones, call back to your wings, find out what's going on, and let's get back together here in however amount of period of time, short period of time, 30 minutes or something like that.
And then immediately it came to me, this is not an accident. That there is something being perpetrated against our country, whether it be terrorist activity, which it obviously was, or something even larger than that. So the things that ran through my mind were, one, what's the next step? What's going to happen? Are we going to see something else? If it is a terrorist activity, what's next? Is there going to be something that will follow this?
My initial thoughts, again, once you kind of put two and two together, go, this is not good, something's happening, what's next? And I kind of thought at that point, you know, is Washington, D.C. a target because of obviously the Capitol, the Pentagon, and all those things that are there.
Looking at a live picture from Washington, and there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. It would appear that there has been another major explosion, this one in the nation's capital. You are looking at a scene of apparent blast aftermath. There is smoke in the air over the Pentagon. We don't know whether this is the result of a bomb or whether it is yet another aircraft that has targeted a symbol of the United States power, but there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon.
As the day progressed, or that morning progressed rather, then we heard about the airplane that flew into the Pentagon. It showed pictures of where it flew in, and then I remember having been stationed at the Pentagon twice, where that corridor was, what was there, what offices were there. I wondered about, you know, how many lives, because obviously it looked like there was going to be lives lost, and if I knew any of them. And then again, we heard about, shortly thereafter, about the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania.
We're here in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, and this is where United Airlines Flight 93 crashed earlier today, just after 9 a.m. It's not certain exactly what piece of the puzzle this airplane crash fits into the terrorism that's been happening all across the United States, most notably in New York and Washington, D.C., but details are still surfacing about this plane crash. Information is slowly seeping out and filtering. There was a 911 phone call made from the airplane shortly before it crashed. A woman was calling the 911 center to explain that the airplane had been hijacked. The airplane crashed shortly after that 911 phone call was made.
These civilians, because they had heard, some of them had cell phones, right? They had heard from loved ones that our nation was under attack. And they knew that their airplane, that the terrorists had already taken over that airplane. And they were not going to let happen what just happened. And some incredibly courageous people got together and says, not on our watch. We're gonna change this. And who knows what they stopped, right? Intelligence says that it was probably headed towards the Capitol building, right? Or the White House. And so that's when it really sunk in that here's patriotic Americans who put their lives on the line because they're going to save others, which is what our nation is really should be all about, and we are all about. And so that is when it really sunk in that, okay, and if they are willing to do that, our role in the military, we need to follow their example and never forget that.
I put word out that we needed to meet at the command post just to take a look and see what we were going to do. We made a decision to evacuate the school because the National Command Authority came down with a THREATCON Delta. We're all familiar with that. THREATCON Delta is lock her down. Nobody's going anywhere, shut her down. Well, we had to get the kids off base and get them safely home.
THREATCON Delta, that's the word at Sheppard Air Force Base this evening. Non-mission essential personnel have been released and everyone is on the highest alert. News Center 3's Tina Patel has more.
Wichita Falls police officers were called in to stand guard and keep traffic moving near Sheppard Air Force Base. But there wasn't much movement among the cars actually trying to get on base.
And then we just kind of sat back and assessed our area, worked with the local Wichita Falls police to see if there was anything out of the norm that they had seen, be on the lookout for, and with other state authorities.
You know, in our case here, as a tenant wing commander, I don't have responsibility for the base, but I've got a big area of responsibility in the lines of all those airplanes, all those students, and not only for my country, not only for the United States, but for the other 12 NATO countries that are represented there. But then how are we, as the Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training Program, how are we going to respond to this?
Well, one thing that we did was we quit training. And you go, okay, if we're going to quit training, where are we going to put them? Well, we're going to put them in the dorm. And then you go, well, all we did was now put them in a place where they all are, where they're not dispersed, they're in dormitories on base. So it softened the target even more so. So these are the things that go through your mind as a commander about protecting the people, and how do you do that in a situation that we really probably had not rehearsed at this wing.
I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens.
What message would I give the country about experiences on that day? I think you have to look no further than, as you mentioned just before, the first responders. Those people went running to the sounds of the guns, to the danger. They didn't run away. They've been trained. Those firefighters, those first responders, those police officers, they were trained to go do those things, and they went. They went running to the towers. They went running up those stairs. They went hauling people down. They gave their lives. So my message to that is still inherent in our country. It's still inherent in our values.
What changed in me that day was a realization that no longer are we, the United States of America, protected by the boundaries of two vast bodies of water. That we can be struck and struck at home. And not only just struck at home with attacks against our military, but attacks directly against the citizenry of the United States, the citizens that we are sworn to protect, died on September 11th. We were not able to protect them the way we should have been able to. To me, that was pretty profound. We have to change how we do things. We have to change how we look at intel. We have to change our intel gathering. You know, these are just things that I'm thinking of. Can I affect that? No. But